So one of the more interesting things of this passage is the assumption that with culture and civilization of China, as it were, of the Central States, comes morality. We would put this in 20th or 21st century terms as not just having hard power as an empire, but having the soft power of civilization. You have values that others want to share or should want to share, even if they're too ignorant to understand that this is the opportunity of a lifetime to learn from your values.
But I mean, this does, to be frank, it seems to me, put these people who claim to represent the Zhongguo, the central country, in a position of denying any kind of equality to the people they see around them.
It's true. And yet society is not organized on the basis of equality throughout all of Chinese history. It is organized on the basis of hierarchy, of proper behavior according to your status, and the status of those outside the realm was by definition lower.
Now, so Yeshe says what we can share as a people, as our identity, is some devotion and commitment to moral behavior and to maintaining certain values. I think we could, I'm not so sure that he's right, but I do think there is something that, despite it being a hierarchical view of the world, can be shared by everybody, although better at the top than at the bottom perhaps, and that's language. But if we look at this language map, and here you can see the map right here, Chinese, there is no one Chinese language, so to speak, or at least the languages spoken in this place are so diverse that they're not mutually intelligible. How, in what sense is language the basis for unity?
Well, in very modern times, that is 20th, 21st century time, part of that unity is in fact in the spoken language, having for the first time outside of officialdom a national language, a guoyu. We think of this today as Mandarin, as automatic, as if this is the only possible choice, and it is in fact an extension of official language, as it were, Mandarin language, Guanyu, of the late Qing. But of course, until that time, until modern times, there hasn't been a shared national spoken language, but there has been a shared national written language, and nothing is more essential for the continuity of Chinese civilization than by the fact that if you are illiterate today, you can at least read the characters, even if you don't understand all of the text, of a volume written 2,000 years ago.
And even if you, let's say, come from Canton and only speak Cantonese, or Guangzhou and you only speak Cantonese, you come from Beijing and only speak Beijinghua, Northern Mandarin, you can still read the same text.
You can read exactly the same text. Language and culture, language and politics have been intimately connected throughout all of Chinese history. This remains true into the 20th century, where there are efforts in order to remake or to make a new China, to have, at least in part, a new language, to have the written language written as people speak it, not in classical Chinese, but in vernacular Chinese, in what's called plain speech, Baihua.
This is the same thing that people were arguing in the 8th century and the 15th century again and again, the belief that if how people write is a sign of the kind of person they are, but also if you can change the way people write and what they write about, you're changing them.
Right. But if you were to look at the saying in classical Chinese and saying in Baihua, in vernacular Chinese, they mean exactly the same thing. They're different characters. Which one to you, in the audience, which one to you is easier to read? Well, the fact is, if you're illiterate, if you don't know characters, they're both mutually incomprehensible. So this is in fact a debate among the elite, among the literate, as to how to communicate to the masses and with each other. All right, so Peter, how did this start? How did Chinese become Chinese as a language? Chinese script.
Chinese script. The problem in answering that question is that the Chinese script appears all at once in what might be called a fully developed language system in 1200 BC. And we find it in one place on the bones, the oracle bones, which the Shang kings used for divination. It's clear from then. Well, should I tell you the whole story?
Sure.
Then I will.